In the fight to save the North Atlantic right whale, every death is devastating. And this year there have been 4 losses to the already endangered species, including one found tangled in fishing gear on Martha's Vineyard in February. Most recently, a mother was killed in a vessel collision off the Virginia coast 2 weeks ago. Its young calf is nowhere to be found. And while scientists work to save the North Atlantic right whale, they're also battling a wave of misinformation online, as environmental reporter Eve Zukoff dug into for GBH News' sister station on the Cape, CAI. She joins me now along with Mark Baumgartner, senior scientist at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Eve, you've covered this death of right whale 5120 who washed onto Martha's Vineyard. As you said, that whale was entangled in fishing gear. But what happened after that online and the discussion about this whale?
Yeah, I mean, almost immediately there was attention to her death. Why is she here? What's happening? There were people going to the island's beach to see her. And very quickly her story got out because people care about right whales. Then within about 5 days, speculation about how did she die turned into this massive flood of misinformation because people started saying, you know, there's this offshore wind farm, Vineyard Wind, that's 15 miles away from where she was found. And people said, that must be it. That must be what killed her. Some combination of the construction or the turbines or just the power. It was thousands of comments in 5 days, and if people had waited just a little bit longer, they would have found out that no, she actually died of entanglement in fishing gear, and we knew exactly where that fishing gear came from, but it didn't matter to the hordes online.
And there's some grassroots organizations that are devoted to protecting the right whales that are very critical of offshore wind and the impact that they might have. Can you talk to us about the research that was done out of Brown University and what they found about what those organizations or how those organizations are being funded?
Yeah, and to be clear, there are some conservation organizations for right whales that have nothing to do with offshore wind or offshore wind criticism. They do really great work. But this group from Brown University that studies disinformation around climate change found that 18 grassroots groups that have popped up in Massachusetts, Delaware, Rhode Island, kind of all up and down the East Coast that claim to be, you know, neighborhood groups, super local, representing the interests of right whales. They actually have links through membership, through funding, through legal representation to conservative think tanks and massive conservative donors. And there are these very clear links between them. There are paper trails that this Brown University team uncovered.
Including interests in fossil fuels and preventing renewable energy projects from moving forward, right?
Yes, exactly. There are groups in Texas that are funding, you know, small groups off the coast of Massachusetts. And these Texas groups, their main focus is blocking climate policy. Their main focus is promoting oil and gas. And so there's this kind of big question mark. Why are they so involved in right whales? And I think that, you know, this Brown University team says, you know, this is a ruse. They are using right whales as a mascot to fight offshore wind, to promote oil and gas.
Okay. Mark, there's a lot that's still not known about the impact of offshore wind on right whales, right? Does this put scientists such as yourself in sort of a tricky position in understanding what the impact could be and whether or not you want to support offshore wind?
Sure. I don't know if it's a tricky spot. There are 3 things that we mostly worry about when it comes to offshore wind. The first is exposure to noise. So when turbines are installed, there's these gigantic steel tubes that are basically pounded into the seafloor, and that creates a lot of noise. We worry about the whales, their hearing being damaged or their behavior being disrupted from that noise. The second thing we worry about is with all the vessel traffic that's associated with construction and operation activities around wind farms, that right whales will be more likely to get hit by those ships. As you probably know, right whales tend to get entangled in fishing gear and struck by ships. Those are the 2 main causes of death in the population. If you're a juvenile or an adult right whale that dies, it's almost assuredly that you died from a fishing gear entanglement or a ship strike. So these ship strikes are really important. And so the increased traffic associated with offshore wind, construction and maintenance, we worry about. The third thing is what is the impact these wind farms are going to have on the ocean itself? Are these wind farms, because they're extracting energy from the atmosphere, energy that would have gone into the ocean to mix the ocean, to create more algae, perhaps, to create more food, or perhaps reduce the amount of mixing that happens, and there's less algae and less food for right whales? That's probably the thing that we know the least about, what those impacts are. We think those impacts will be small, but that's something we really need to study. So in total, there are a lot of things that we're worried about, but many of those risks are manageable, particularly the vessel strike and the noise exposure. And I think no one's happy about another industrial activity in the ocean impacting right whales, but this is one that has the potential to have benefits for right whales because it's going to change climate change, right? It's going to change how we consume fossil fuels, reduce that, because right whales are really impacted heavily by climate change right now. And so there are goods and bads to offshore wind, but hopefully those bads can be managed.
Okay, so if you have to fall on one side, it sounds like, let's keep going forward with offshore wind, that you would support offshore wind projects, but with the caveat of additional research is needed.
If we can do it well. The whole idea of right whales being impacted by human activities, there's no one in the right whale community that's saying, let's stop fishing or let's stop shipping. Like the clothes I have on my back assuredly were almost surely produced in another country. They came to this country by a ship. No one's saying let's stop all of that industrial activity, but let's find a way to do it in a way that doesn't impact the whales. And so I would say the same thing about offshore wind. Let's find a way to have these wind farms operational, but do it in a way that doesn't harm right whales.
Okay.
And I think that's possible.
And there have been, you've reported on a number of right whale deaths very recently, right? And it should be noted, these are not deaths that were in any way caused by offshore wind. What have we been seeing recently?
Correct. We almost exclusively see deaths from whales getting hit by boats. It will be a blunt force trauma death, or a propeller will cut so deep they'll bleed out. They're actually really horrific deaths. Or right whales are getting entangled in rope and fishing gear, and then they can carry that rope, and we're primarily talking about lobster fishing gear, also some Jonah crab. It's just the nature of how this gear is set. And they will carry the gear for anywhere from weeks to months to years before things like what we saw with 5120. She was so drained from the work of carrying this heavy gear. It had cut so deeply into her skin. The rope, her skin grew over the rope. It was actually so deep in her skin.
You were there and saw the necropsy?
Very much.
Yeah.
I was there. I could see how deep this rope had cut into her. And exhaustion and starvation probably killed her. Just the damage of rope that tight. I mean, her skin grew around it because she was first entangled at less than a year old.
Mark, there's NOAA Fisheries and the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management recently released a strategy to try to mitigate the impact of potential impact of offshore wind. Can you talk about what's in there, and is it sufficient?
Well, the strategy is kind of a framework for what we need to do to proceed carefully with offshore wind construction. There's still a lot of details to be filled in about how that's going to happen. And I think the way to do that, a smart way to do that, is to start with the wind farms that we have and study how does it go? How do we do monitoring for right whales? How do we do when we say, okay, we're going to stop pile driving now because we think there are right whales around. Are there really right whales around? Are we really providing meaningful protections? And let's learn from those first few wind farm construction projects and then take that knowledge and move it to the next set. And just keep doing that. And I think in that incremental way, we'll learn how to do this well for the benefit of the whales and for the benefit of the industry to be able to to build wind farms.
Can you talk about just how threatened these whales are right now? And I can't help but wonder, and I don't mean to be grim, but is it too late? Are we so far along that extinction is certain, or can these whales still be saved?
These whales can definitely still be saved. So right whales are dealing with climate change. That's a real stressor for them.
Sure.
And it's really keeping their the amount of calves that they produce every year low. But at the same time that's happening, they're dealing with vessel strikes and fishing gear entanglements. And those two factors combined are pushing this animal towards extinction. But of course, we have control over vessel strikes and fishing gear entanglements. There are things that we can do, and there are solutions on the table for those things. It's just whether we have the will to do those. And you're absolutely right. Right whales are critically endangered. There's about 350 of them left in the world. There's only about 70 to 80 breeding females left in the world. This is a really critical time for North Atlantic right whales, which is why it's so important and so urgent for us to get this right with offshore wind and to keep pressing on vessel strikes and fishing gear entanglements.
Okay, well, Mark Baumgartner and Yves Zukoff, thank you both so much for joining us today and talk about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.